Chase the vision, not the money. The money will end up following you. That was a quote from the late Tony Hsieh. He died in 2020. He also famously sold his company to Amazon. Zappos.com sold for $1.9 billion. If that's not proof that money isn't everything, then I don't know what is. My name is Ben Lee. I used to run a tech agency with over 350 employees in 5 continents. I thought I had it all, but I was miserable. I made myself sick. I burned out. And in 2020, I gave it all up to live a better life on my terms, to create the ultimate lifestyle entrepreneur mindset. And today we're gonna be talking about some of that. So before we dive in, let me give you some backstory. My first agency was Neon Roots. I started that in 2011. We started with 2 Mac Minis and 4 developers. We didn't even have enough money to buy equipment for everybody. So we literally had to do pair programming with 4 developers and 2 machines. We bootstrapped that. My co-founder and I each invested $1,000. We set up our company in Uruguay, which is where our engineering talent was based. And in less than 10 years, we grew it to a development empire. We merged our company in 2017 with another software development shop. We grew the company to over $20 million a year in annual revenue. And we worked with clients like TikTok, Google, Masterclass, Tony Robbins, the Special Olympics, and a lot more. Now, before the pandemic, I knew I wanted to get out of this business. I didn't feel like I had control over it. It felt like it controlled me. They oftentimes say that you create these golden handcuffs for yourself. And as an entrepreneur, it's absolutely true. You've got a massive payroll. You've always got to focus on closing the next deal because it's never enough. You know, when you've got to feed over 100 or 200 or 300 employees, that's a massive pipeline you got to consistently build. And most of your days is managing people, or finding people who can become managers, or sitting in Zoom meetings, or dealing with politics, or dealing with bureaucracy. That's not what I got into business for. I wanted to be scrappy. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to be fun. The last couple of years, I lost all of that. So before pandemic, I knew I wanted to get out. I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my stomach that this wasn't for me anymore. So this is how it went down. My company, Neon Roots, I owned 100% of. Neon Roots was the majority shareholder of Rootstrap, which was the software company I was running. And when we decided that things were gonna get a little bit weird during the pandemic, and some of our goals of selling the company or, merging with another group, or, the typical activity that a business does at that stage, seeking some liquidity event, when we knew it wasn't gonna be that easy or it wasn't gonna be possible, because, frankly, the pandemic screwed up a lot of things in the beginning days, I decided that it was best for me to leave and structure a buyout, which we did. This gave me an opportunity to build a whole new life for myself. And I learned about things like earnouts, and the negotiation terms, and the NDAs that you sign, and all the various nuanced things that come with selling a business. So today's video, we're gonna be talking about the 7 things that I learned from selling my company for millions of dollars at age 32. Number 1, it takes a really long time to sell a company. I've exited 2 companies now. I've also recently brokered a deal for an agency that sold for over $200 million in cash and equity. From all these experiences, I've learned that this process can take easily up to 2 years. You've got bankers in the street trying to sell the deal. You've got performance numbers you've got to keep up. And if you don't keep those numbers up, the acquirer is going to try to renegotiate those term sheet and get a better deal, or maybe even back out of the deal entirely. And let's not forget about market cycles. There's going to be upward cycles and downward cycles. So, a lot of shit happens in 2 years. Be patient. It takes time. It does not happen overnight, and you most definitely do not get a check overnight. Number 2, considering the tax liabilities. This is something that most founders don't even think about. When you see the number on the contract or the term sheet, most of the time you are not involving a tax strategist or a CPA or a financial planner to help you understand what is the amount you're actually gonna net. And if you're in California or New York, it's even worse, because you're likely gonna be paying 30% in taxes on the amount that you get from the deal. For this reason, it's become more common, especially with tech founders, to move to states like Florida or Texas or Tennessee, where there are no state income taxes. And also, if you think you are going to be selling your company in, let's say, 1 or 2 years, it's important to start making those moves now and establishing a residency in a tax-free state so that you don't get taxed on the proceeds of the sale when the time comes. Number 3, if you're the rainmaker and you're bringing in the bacon, you're likely going to be locked in an earnout. So what does this mean? It means that if you're a chief person in this company, you're the relationship guy, you're the sales guy, you're the guy that people trust, the company that's gonna acquire you is gonna want you to stick around for 3, maybe even 4 years. And they're gonna structure the deal based on that. So if you try to leave early, you're gonna get less money. So they're gonna incentivize you to stick around as long as possible. Now, for this reason, it's also important to start getting in that mindset of actually thinking and believing what it would be like to go work for another company. So a lot of times when I'm coaching founders who want to sell their company, I'm telling them, picture yourself working for company X. Could you report to that boss? Do you like their mission and values? And maybe even do outreach to the CEO and say, one day I'd like to go work for a company like yours and roll up my shop. Number 4, your energy and headspace is more important than the money. I was running a company doing tens of millions of dollars a year. I was the majority shareholder. I was making a high 6-figure salary. On the outside, you would have thought I was made. I was living my best life. I was actually completely miserable. I made myself physically sick. I had 2 autoimmune conditions. I developed sleep insomnia. I was a nervous wreck. And I knew in my heart this was not what I was meant to be doing. This was not my purpose in life. It was miserable, day in and day out, grinding, not wanting to go into work, wanting to just work from home, even before work from home was a thing. I knew this wasn't my calling in life. Sure, if I would have, stuck it out a few more years, I probably would have gotten a lot more money, maybe even another 0. But guess what? That doesn't matter. Your headspace is more important than anything. You're in control of your destiny when it comes to your life, your business, and your finances. Selling a company for something means you've got access to a very exclusive club that most people will never even get access to. That means I can raise capital. I can be a part of special entrepreneur groups. I have that credibility. It's part of my story. It's part of my brand, and nobody will ever be able to take that away from me. Number 5, money and power changes everybody. It's true. This part is true, just like in the Hollywood movies. When you're small, you're really scrappy, you're running real fast, you don't have any signed agreements, you don't have clear bylaws, you've never created an operating agreement, you haven't defined the board seats, you haven't clearly defined roles, and it's always a, let's just figure it out as we go. Let's sell first, build later mentality. Well, that doesn't really work once the money starts pouring in, because guess what? Once there's revenues, once there's sales, once there's equity, once their partners have families and babies, everything changes. People start getting greedy. People want more. And what I recommend doing, and I oftentimes coach founders on this, is when you're small, start adopting habits as if you were a multinational or multi-million-dollar company. Create a clear set of bylaws. Create a good operating agreement. Create minutes and agendas for when you guys do board meetings. Sign a secretary, assign a treasurer. All these things that are going to be part of your daily routine once you're a big company, you should be doing now. Once the money starts pouring in, it's a lot harder to make those changes. It's a lot easier when you guys are small and nimble and the company, doesn't have the money yet, it doesn't have the value. And it's not gonna be as expensive or costly to make those things with lawyers or, service providers you guys work with. Number 6, consider the team and resources. When you're a CEO or running a company, you basically are supposed to be the cult leader of that business. Trust me, I definitely was in my business. I was driving the vision. I was the brand. I was the face. I was the in-house influencer. I was the one everybody came to or knew because I was in all the marketing material. So when I decided to leave my company, I didn't consider what kind of effect they would have on the morale and the culture, especially in weird business economic times when morale was already a little bit low. So this is something to be really sensitive to. Communicate to your team if that's gonna happen. Understand where they're coming from and their position is. Also consider things like creative capital, which I lost so much of by leaving. I had a team on standby ready to go. If I wanted to incubate new ideas or bang out a landing page or test a funnel, I had access to so much creative capital that I had invested in over the years. Developers, designers, product people that I trained and fostered and developed over a span of 10+ years. And I lost that pretty much overnight. So there is a cost to that when leaving a company, and it's something you got to consider. Number 7, have a strategy. When I left Rootstrap, I knew I did not want to jump into another agency. I did not want to be a full-time employee. I got many offers to join C-suite positions, and I knew in my heart I needed to just take some time and heal. I moved to Costa Rica, I surfed, I got super healthy, I got my mind right, and I started making a lot of small bets and testing little experiments, starting a real estate project, starting a real estate agency, doing coaching, relaunching some course stuff, just having fun, keeping my tools dry, and more importantly, keeping my powder dry, because I knew I would be in a position in a certain cycle to start making investments and deploying capital in things that could create a wealth plan for me as an investor in this next iteration of my life. So there you have it. That's my framework. Feel free to borrow, steal, use some of this when considering if you want to sell your company or if you want to leave your company. Pivoting could be one of the most rewarding things of your life. And you got to just keep pushing along and take 2 steps forward all the time. So, feel free to drop me a line in the DMs, in my comments, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.